been going on in Florida, in South Florida. Susan Candiotti has been tracking that, and she joins us now from Vero Beach, Florida. Susan, good evening to you.
Good evening, Aaron. We've been here for several hours now, and moments ago, at least a dozen FBI agents who have been here since roughly 5:30 in the morning pulled out of here. Now, they spent several hours here, and at one point, a few hours this afternoon, executed search warrants on 2 homes side by side here. We are told that the people who were renting these 2 homes were believed to be commercial pilots who identified themselves as being from Saudi Arabia, according to the landlords, who were attending a course of study at a nearby flight school called Flight Safety International. These people were already said to be pilots, but said that they were taking another course there. Now, we are about to talk to one of the landlords who rented one of the homes to one of these 2 people. Can you tell us how long this individual had been renting the house from you?
Since June 10th of 2000.
And I should say you are Paul Steimling. Thank you very much for joining us. And how much do they pay each month?
$1,400.
What can you tell us about them? What did you know them? Who did you know them to be, or your tenant?
Just family men from Saudi Arabia that were here for a class, and they needed 15 months at this rental, and they've agreed to rent the property through the end of August.
And what happened before the lease was up?
They called me the last week in July and suggested they would need it at least another 2 weeks, and again last week to ask for another 2 or 3 days. They were to move on the 17th, this coming Monday.
And how would you describe the man to whom you rented the house?
Always polite, always a gentleman, paid his rent on time. As far as I knew, family man with 5 children.
What do you make of these search warrants being executed at your home?
Kind of shocked. I was over here this morning and provided information regarding the leases to the FBI and could learn nothing.
Did they tell you why they were looking at these homes and what connection there may have been?
No, they didn't.
To the attacks?
No, they didn't.
Did you ask them?
I did.
What did they say?
That they couldn't reveal anything at this time.
Did they show you any photographs of anyone?
No, they did not.
And ask you to identify them?
No, they just asked me for a description. I gave that.
What do you make of the situation?
I'm rather alarmed. It's a quiet little town, and I'm just a landlord that builds homes to rent.
All right. They asked you to extend their lease, and they had the lease on your house until the 17th of September.
That's
roughly,
correct.
More or less. All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We can tell you this, Aaron, that several hours ago, again, the FBI did take away someone from that home. A law enforcement source identified that individual to us as an acquaintance of 2 pilots who may have been involved in the attack. It's our understanding that that person was driven down to FBI headquarters in Miami. We are in Vero Beach, and we have no further update beyond that at this time. We do understand that the family from the second house moved out earlier this month.
Okay, just help me on one thing. I may have gotten a bit lost in some of this, and I apologize. It's a little hard to hear. How many people in South Florida do we now believe are in custody, and where do we believe they are?
That's hard to say. We only know for sure about one person being brought in for questioning at FBI headquarters. We do know that the FBI has been spending all night and part of this day, most of this day, also looking at different locations in Florida. For example, a couple of apartments. They went to a restaurant in Broward County, Florida. They went to a home in Coral Springs, Florida. An apartment that was rented by, in fact, someone who sources tell CNN may very well have been one of the hijackers. They also spent time this day interviewing some people at a house in Venice, Florida, on Florida's west coast. The owner of that home had allowed a couple of people to stay at his house, one of them identified as Mohammed Atta. And they also spent the day in Daytona Beach, Florida. Mohammed Atta, we are told by law enforcement sources, may very well be directly linked to the hijacking.
And I'm afraid I know the answer to this, but very quickly, do you have any idea how the FBI has identified any of these people to execute these search warrants? Have we seen the warrants yet to know what it was they were looking for? Anything you can help us with there quickly?
The warrants have been sealed and therefore are off limits to us. However, I have been told since late last night that one of the reasons they have been looking at some of these addresses, from Broward County, Florida, several locations there, to Venice, Florida as well, is because of examining the passenger manifest.
Got it.
And I was told when asked because they were a passenger, and I was told no, it was far more pointed information by that, indicating that there were direct links to these people, and they may indeed have been the hijackers themselves.
Susan, nice work. Susan Candiotti in Vero Beach, Florida. Back to Washington, Judy.